We'll hit the record button. So this is, make sure we get everything, all the buttons checked, and we'll be just fine. Well, welcome to Your Message Matters. I so appreciate you being here today and every day, or not every day, but every Monday, of course, when we shoot this wonderful show live. Your Message Matters is all about you and your message, of course. We help you turn your story into a powerful published book. My name's Lori Raupe, and I am your show host and your sponsor for this show. We are diving into one of the most important, I mean truly important topics today. And this is understanding your target reader. I call them your perfect fit reader. So whether you are aspiring to write a book, to teach, or entertain, knowing your audience is really the secret sauce to creating a book that resonates with them. Today, we're going to look at all of the practical tips and tricks and market research, making it simple for you to really get to know how to make that impact that you are hoping to make. So, what do you say? Is that a good topic? I hope you'll enjoy the show today. Well, you know what? You've probably heard this before. At least I know I've said it before. You want to write to one reader. Just one. Just one. Why do we do that? Because it creates a connection. It makes it more personal. You're just like talking to one other person instead of like thinking of it as a whole audience. That gets overwhelming, and you don't know who in the audience is the right person that's going to want to read and transform through your story. So it creates a connection and it guides your writing, because when you know who that perfect person is that you are wanting to impact, it makes it really clear of what you want to say. And most importantly, it is easier to promote a book that you know that person you're looking for. We're going to go into this a little bit deeper, but when you know your audience, you choose the right tone, the right style of writing, and the right content that will really make an impact in their life. A clear reader profile also makes that marketing so much easier. I know those are three separate things, and I could actually do a show on each of them. But for the purposes of today and getting this lesson within a 30-minute window, I am going to break each of these concepts down so that you really understand what it takes to really create a book that impacts many people when you focus on one. And I get it. It sounds so counterintuitive, doesn't it? Well, think about it. Who is the person who might be waiting for a book just like yours? Picture them as we move through these tips today, and as I share what it looks like. You can even add in the chat. We'll talk about that when the show is over, but I would love your insights. I would love anything that this triggers for you that you want to know more about it, because this show is all about serving your needs. And if I can help you understand this concept a little bit better and you have questions to ask, I would be more than happy to answer them. So share it in the comments or the chat, if you will, and I would be more than happy to get back with you and let you know what the answer is to your question. Or you can come live on Win-Win Women TV. Your Message Matters. I would love to have you here with me. But for those of you who are here, I am so grateful for you. I love it when we have a live audience, and then after the show's over, we get to interact. And that's my favorite part, is getting to know you better and what's going on with you. So it sounds really hard, doesn't it? I've spent a lot of time dissecting what this truly means and how to make it work in my own business, in my own books, so that I could serve you at a higher level. Over this past year or so, I have been with a group called the Brand Builders Group. And just last week, I did an all-day session on in part this topic, but also a broader picture of what my brand looks like so I could help you with your brand. They call it the brand DNA. And there truly is a DNA when it comes to your perfect fit reader too. And when you understand who that person is, it is so much better than just hoping you reach a broad brush of this, or what am I trying to say? A broad stroke of a brush trying to hit or miss those that might be interested in what you do and what your book is about. So knowing your ideal client, your ideal reader is so, so important. So in the Brand Builders group, they have various modules. And last week, like I said, we went through a lot of different concepts and did the work. And I love that interactive, learn a little, do a little, learn a little, do it a little. And that's what we always say in the John Maxwell team too. If you're only learning and not doing, well, let me encourage you to learn a little and do a little. So today is going to be kind of like that because that's what we do in the book course membership. If you don't know about the book course membership, I don't have time to go into that right now, but reach out to me. I'd love to see if you're a candidate for that membership so that we can walk you through getting your book done too. And it is a topic we will definitely cover in the group. That's how important it is. In fact, it's one of the first things we talk about because if you don't get this right, your book will sit on the shelf or sit on Amazon or sit wherever it is in cyberspace, and it won't get out to the readers that you're hoping to make that impact. So if you don't have your eye on the prize, this is like archery. Think of archery for a minute. I love archery. I used to do a lot of it. However, not so much anymore, but I still produce a newsletter for this organization that is in California. And so I'm always thinking of analogies. The best analogy I can think of is a target. So we talk about your target market. We talk about your target avatar. Avatar is another way of saying that this is the qualities of the person I'm trying to impact. If you think of that arrow and think of that target, you have the arrow, you're aimed at a target, and you're looking at the bullseye. When you hit that bullseye, you're right on. So that's what we're trying to define is the bullseye. And I get how it just doesn't sound right. You want to hit everybody on the target, right? And you will, promise you. I promise you, you will get more people than just the target. But when you define that target, that's when the magic happens and you really can make a broader impact than you ever have thought about before. They will want to tell everyone about your book and that will help your book grow. They are going to talk about the transformation they've been through, what they learned. That is why it's so important to think of the one person. So let's get into how can we define an ideal reader, or I like to call them the perfect fit reader. The first thing I want you to think about is, well, they might be a lot like you because you are perfectly positioned to help the person that you once were. This is the person that isn't you now. It's the you that you were before. When you were seeking out some solutions, when you were seeking out the answer to your problems. So going back in your history, or if you were smart, and sometimes I was and sometimes I wasn't, but if I start looking at my journals, I start seeing some of the questions I had, where I was back in the day before I got to where I am now. Think about you and your own journey, what questions you had, what characteristics you had, and what you were looking for. We can start with simple demographics: age, gender, maybe location, because sometimes what you're teaching is very cultural or specific to a location. The occupation, possibly. Sometimes this matters and sometimes it doesn't. I write a lot to coaches and speakers because I am a coach and a speaker. I'm also a publisher, and so sometimes I'm speaking to that person that I was before I ever published my first book. So for my business, or I take it back, not my business, I'd like to tell you about one of my clients, Cindy. She's writing a book for empty nesters. In fact, she's writing a book more specifically to make an impact for somebody who's kind of new to the whole idea of being an empty nester. And if you don't know what an empty nester is, let me explain. That is a woman. It could be a man, but in this case, she's working with women whose children have grown and left the nest, so to speak. Sometimes they're still home, but they don't really need you anymore. They are very independent, and oftentimes they've gone away to college or started their own career, and they've gotten their own home and they're off and launched. And again, it leaves you in a situation where you just don't know which end is up. So what age would that be? Well, it could be like 40, it could be 60, it could be 55, but it could be a stage of life. You don't have to know the exact age, but sort of an age range. And you're looking for women who are navigating this stage of their life. An empty nester is one who is now looking for a next chapter. And here's something kind of interesting. That is one of my ideal perfect fit clients as well, because they may be looking for a way for meaning in the next chapter of their life. And no pun intended, but they might be writing about what they've been through in life. So that next chapter could be their book and a new venture, if you will, with coaching, speaking, and the book. That's kind of where I was back when I started, right after I retired from Department of Corrections. That's when I wanted to be a speaker and fell in love with coaching. So I did both. I learned speaking so that I could get coaching clients, and then I learned speaking so I could coach people who were writing a book after I wrote my first book. So you can kind of see the transition of how that worked out in my life. So back to Cindy, she all of a sudden found herself with no kids at home, and she felt like she needed to redefine who she was. She was still mom, but not in the same sense. Once you kind of pass that threshold of, my kids don't need me anymore, it can be devastating to your identity. So that is what we're talking about when we're thinking about age, gender, location, what they're going through. So those are kind of your demographics, if you will. And then you want to think about the psychographics. This is their hopes, their fears, and challenges that they're going through during the time. So in the book that I'm writing right now, it's more about having hope after loss. So this person, probably a woman, because I speak to women mostly, she wants to rediscover her purpose and her life. Similarly to Cindy's ideal client, but mine has suffered some kind of a loss. It could be divorce. It could be like what we're finding right now in my area, in the greater Los Angeles area. Many of us are impacted by the fires that are going on. I myself have had a loss of power because of the high winds and them trying to prevent more fire locations, because they need everything they can to get to the fire that's going on now so they can save lives, save homes. But when you lose power in your home, it can do a lot of things. For me, it triggered my fire experience where I lost everything. It also was scary at night. I had to use flashlights and make sure I was ready for darkness. And that isn't my favorite time of the day, honestly. So I had candles and I learned a lot in that darkness, and it was a great opportunity to pray. But, and of course, I've lost a child. And when you have these different kinds of losses, divorce and people that you love and care about, or even pets, every loss sort of stacks and they have some things in similar, or there are some similar things in grief and in healing that my book is covering. And so when I get it all done, I'll let you know for sure. And maybe you'd like to support it. I'm still working on it with my two young compadres. My granddaughter and her bestie are helping me, and I love what they're doing to help me with this book. But the whole time I'm writing that book, I'm thinking about who I was when I struggled with loss so much. This new event in my life has given me even more things to consider to put in the book. So it never stops until you publish your book. And even then, you could always publish again and give a revised version if you've learned something great in the process that you want to pass along, and redo your book if you want. I know John Maxwell has several books that he's gone through now and rewritten because he's grown, his audience has grown, and he wants to continue to make a big impact on life. So the third thing you want to consider, so we've got your demographics, your psychographics, and then you also want to think about behavior. What kinds of things do they do? Are they hanging out, looking at YouTube videos, trying to find the answer to their problem? Are they on Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram? Maybe they are Googling the heck out of that topic, right? She's trying to find the solution to the thing that is bugging her the most. So she may be on Facebook and she may be listening to self-help podcasts or inspirational memoirs to get the sense of what her memoir might be like. So whatever you are writing about, you want to consider these basic parts of who your reader is. And I wanted to just step in here for just a minute. If by chance you are watching this or recording this, or watching the recording, I should say, or even if you're live and watching, go back and listen again, because as I talk about this, I want you to pause and make some notes. And then I'd love it if you would reach out to me. I would love to answer your questions. And I do have a couple questions today, and hopefully we will get to those and get them on the recording. And if not, of course, we do Q&A live after the show. So, who is your who? Your who is your perfect fit reader, but who are they? What do they look like? What are they feeling? When you can really tap into those things, it makes the next part of this and the research that you need to do to really solidify this person, this who that you're writing to. It is so important to try to make a description of this person. So, how do we do it, and what do we do, and what are the important things that we can consider as we start to jot down all of those attributes that we've just talked about? So pause now if you want, if you are not here live, because don't pause me if you're live, it'll skip over some valuable things, right? But come back and take this opportunity to start jotting things down. So now that you have kind of a picture of your who, back it up with research. You know, this is an area that I love researching, and I can really get hung up on researching. I could research until the days, go by and I haven't gotten anything done. So don't belabor your research, but do spend some time researching. And here's a couple of practical ways that you can gather insights about your perfect fit reader. The first thing you can do is go to social media groups and start to identify things like keywords. Now, we're not going to go in deep on keywords, but your keywords are those things that somebody is typing into the computer, whether it be Amazon looking for a book like yours, Facebook looking for a group, or Googling, or YouTube, whatever they might tap on their keyboard, whatever words, either phrases or single words, to search out the solution to the problem they have. And we've talked about problems and solutions before. Your book solves a problem, and you are the solution along with the experience you're sharing. So look for related groups. So for example, if you're writing a devotional and you want to find Christian women who are interested in Bible studies or having devotionals, there are several types of groups you might look for. One that just popped into my head is, I can't think of the author, but I've done most of her devotionals, I think, and that's the Jesus Calling series. So maybe there's a Facebook group that would tie into Jesus Calling. So you could search Jesus Calling. Do make a note of your search words, because later on, when you get ready to publish, these are words that are going to be so valuable to putting in your publishing part of your books, or the metadata that's related to your books. So look for groups. You may have groups in your neighborhood even. There could be meetup groups. There could be groups of all different sorts and types. But look for these and make note of them and figure out, hey, are these my people? When you go into those groups, be very careful. You are not in that group to sell anybody anything. You're there to research, but you're also there to build relationships. So you could ask questions and ask, maybe find somebody that seems to match your ideal person, and maybe they're asking questions that are right in line with your book. And if that's true, you could send them a message or even post it in the group and say, hey, would you mind if it's okay with the admins of the group? You want to make sure you're checking out with admins. It's so important. You don't want to be violating any of their rules that they've set up for their groups. But reach out to them and see if you can have a conversation. That's really important to the success of your book. You could create a reader survey. You may already have these people in your world for one reason or another. So create a questionnaire and ask, what's the biggest challenge you have? And then fill in your topic. What would you hope to learn from a book that has that topic? What kind of things are you seeking answers for? And you could create a whole questionnaire or a short survey, because you don't want to burn people out, and you definitely want them to do it. And if it takes them an hour to fill out your questionnaire, they probably won't finish. But a couple questions, people are usually willing to help somebody out. And then another way you can research is look on Amazon for books that are similar to yours. Make a note of what makes your book different. And then look in the reviews. What are people saying? What do they love about that book? What do they wish that it had included? Use this as inspiration for you to finish your book and to really address these things within the manuscript of your book. If you pay attention to these kinds of things, I guarantee you, you are going to hit the nail on the head when it comes to the success of your book. So, one of the questions that people ask me a lot is, how specific should I get when defining my reader? And I guess my my answer to that is to get as specific as you possibly can without excluding your outliers that may be also interested. And this is a tricky, fine line of a place to find. So think of it as narrowing the focus for a maximum impact. My friend Crystal, who is also my coach, and I get to coach her too, we were coaching partners with the John Maxwell team, and we've just maintained our relationship way beyond that initial partnership. And just last week we were talking, and so for about the last year, she has had an idea of who she wants to impact, and coincidentally, her ideal client is very similar to Cindy's ideal client and my ideal client. In many ways, they have similar characteristics, but the problem they are trying to solve is not the same. So there's a big difference in my client, her client, Cindy's client. However, this is a person that she's looking for that also is at that stage in their life where they haven't finished their career. They may be empty nesters and now ready to take a higher level position. So in Crystal's world, she works for the school district. She was a teacher and now she's a coach within that organization, I guess. And so this is true of many people who are teachers who now are ready for that next step and they want to become part of the admin team. So she walks people through that process. It's a very specific niche, and she's been working on this for the better part of a year. She knows now who she wants to impact and how to help them. And it's so exciting to see this come about with her. So the point in me telling you that is it takes time. Don't panic if you don't know all the details. Keep working and keep getting insights by doing these things. And I promise you, you will find your perfect fit reader and be able to speak to them better, market to them better, and make that impact you're hoping you will make. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I so appreciate you. And I love that we come together each week and get to really focus on this special time. But if you're ready for the next step, may I encourage you to join the book course membership. We talk about these things, that's true, but even more so, we work on them, we implement. I love teaching, but if you don't get anything done, it will not serve you at that highest level that we're hoping for. If you watch these shows, wonderful. Take a little time afterward to actually work on the topic, and you'll find yourself moving further and further ahead. And when you do, would you let me know? I would be so excited to see what you're getting from these shows and if I could help you further. So take care, my friends, and God bless. Have a great week and come back just right here again. And I would love to